Using the risk matrix diffuser, Cal becomes RISKMAN.
Hey guys, welcome to the RISKMAN channel, where we provide you, the entry-level GRC, IT audit, and cybersecurity professional, with easy-to-use tools and techniques you'll need to become successful in this industry. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be updated with all the latest RISKMAN content. If you have questions, please leave them down there in the comments, and let's get on with today's topic. So my 6 keys to making yourself valuable to the world, and this is one thing I really preach, and I have this in my book too, is about making yourself valuable to the world. You don't want to just work for one company and then your skills are all targeted to that company, and if you ever have to go outside that company or you get laid off, and heaven forbid, or anything like that, and the way things are working these days, things like that happen. You're only marketable to that company. So definitely make your skill sets marketable to the world, and be clear and concise about where you want to go in your career. If you don't know where you want to go, then you're going to go all over the place and not accomplish anything. So my main tip, my main key here of all of this is decide where you want to go first. And then, create your career and your skill sets and certifications around that. Speaking of which, the next key is to continually educate yourself. And if you're working for a company that pays for your education, take full advantage of that, because that is going to be really key, that you get the education that you need to move on. You're going to make yourself more valuable to the world instead of just one company. A lot of people get in these companies and they get complacent because they're doing the same old thing every day, and they're comfortable with that, and they get comfortable just sitting there doing the same thing every day and not wanting to grow. But education is going to be the key to growth. It's the main key to growth. Also, you should be willing to take on new tasks. Some people, as I mentioned, you get into these positions and they don't want to advance any farther than they are. They're good with doing the day-to-day and then just sitting back and just doing whatever comes to them. They don't want to take on new challenges. Well, that's the only way you grow, is by taking on new challenges, not by just doing busy work. Busy work is just going to keep you stagnated in one place at one time, and that's what you're going to end up doing. You should always update your resume, and this is a real big key right here, because I tell people this all the time, and they just get so enthralled and complacent into their job that they're like, this is what I do, and no big deal, no need to update my resume because I got a job now. Every time you do something on your current job, you should be putting that a summary of that on your resume. It does 2 things. It saves you from having to sit down and think of everything that you've done over the last year or 6 months or whatever. And it also gives when you get ready to go in and do a sit down with your manager, you don't have to sit there and have somebody tell you that what you haven't done, which you can go back and say, well, no, these are all the things that I have done. You're saying that I didn't do this, and that, but these are all the things that I have done to reach the goal that I had set. So if that's the case, what happens with that is those meetings that you have with your manager about your annual review or 6-month review goes a lot easier. I found when I've done stuff like this, and I already go in there prepared because I already know what I did and I know what the accomplishments were. So if they say anything that's counter to that, I can say, well, no, I did this, and that, and it's all documented right here. So you need to document and update your resume in real time. Another key here is, when meeting with your manager, as I mentioned, clearly get an understanding of what your role is in the company. A lot of people, they go into meetings and one-on-ones with their manager, and they don't ask this question. Then they're surprised when they find out they're not up for the promotion, or they're getting work that they shouldn't be getting. When you do a one-on-one, ask your manager, hey, how am I doing? what's my role in the company? Where do you see me going? And that, because you want to see how far or how much they're interested in your growth. If they don't have much skin in the game in your growth, then you need to probably start looking for another job. And this is something that, I tell people all the time, you need to see these signs. If your manager or supervisor or even your upper management, if they don't have any kind of skin in the game in your growth and they feel you should just be in that one position all the time, then you need to really start looking for another job. And this is why I say making yourself more valuable to the world. If your career, as I mentioned, if it's not moving in the direction that you want, and this is something that you have to kind of monitor all the time, and people just let this go. They just let it go and they just let things happen. Well, you have to make things happen. So if your career is not going the way that you want it to go in the company that you're with, then you really need to move on to another company. But you need to move on to another company instead of just staying there and wasting years. If you want to sit there and waste years and waste time, that's fine. But as I mentioned, time is money. So I recommend everybody read this book here. It's by Steven Johnson. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's an old book. It's a really quick read, but it's a parable. And the book is basically about, four mice, Hem, Haw, Sniff, and Scurry. And basically, you have these four mice and they're all looking for cheese. And when the cheese supply disappears, basically each mouse has to go out and find some new cheese. And two of them, they adapt. Sniff and Scurry, they adapt quickly. They go out and they find new cheese. They search and do whatever they need to do. And then Hem and Haw, they just resist the change, which is what a lot of people do. They sit back and resist change. So they pray that things will probably happen and take no action at all. And that's what a lot of people do in the job market right now. Even when they find jobs, if the job is not going right or they get laid off and everything, they don't know how to adapt to change. And so the story basically emphasizes on the importance of being proactive, flexible, and adapting to change, which is something you have to do as a entry-level GRC, IT audit, and cybersecurity professional. So I usually use this chart right here. This is provided by the Emotional Intelligence Network. And what's so cool about this chart is a lot of times we end up focusing on a lot of stuff that's really outside of what we can control. And these are the things that we should be focusing on, the things that we can control. These are things that you can control. And the things outside of your control is what a lot of us tend to worry about. So control the controllables. I also have a book out. It's called DECODE, Defend, Disrupt, and I've mentioned this quite a bit, but it's a guide for entry-level IT audit, GRC, cybersecurity professionals. And what I put in this book is I put things in there from a perspective of the way I would have liked to be trained when I was starting out, because nobody gave me any kind of direction, and a lot of this industry is kind of like that. Most of the industry right now, they just throw you into a situation and then you have to feel things out. Well, I wanted to put a book together with my channel here, give the entry-level cybersecurity, GRC, IT audit professionals, give them a roadmap that's not too complex to execute. Because I think a lot of times we get these roadmaps on, oh, here's what you're going to need to be a cybersecurity professional. And then there's this large map on, how are we going to do this? And it just overwhelms people. And I wanted to take that out of the equation. I wanted to make things really nice and simple. And again, explain it in a language that's easy to understand. And when you start explaining things in a language that's easy to understand, then people will get it. And they'll take action and execute, and that's what I want people to do. So definitely, if you get a chance to pick this book up, it's really nice, and I think it'll answer a lot of questions that you may have. So if you have any comments or questions or anything like that, leave them down there in the comments, and we will talk to you guys a little bit later. Thanks for your time.